Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show here on this Monday afternoon. Along with Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. We appreciate you being with us. Again, Carolina baseball off to an 8-0 start. Gardner-Webb tomorrow, Clemson this weekend. 3 games over 3 days. To discuss all that and more, we welcome back onto the program the head coach of the Gamecocks. He is Paul Mainieri. Coach, you mentioned it. We just had a cut from you in yesterday's postgame. It was pretty cold last week. So what's that been like for you? And are you finally ready to get it going? How hard is it sometimes to keep yourself and other guys motivated when you can barely feel what's going on out there?
I didn't even notice it was cold, Jay. Let me tell you something. I don't care what the weather's like as long as we win, and I have our players totally convinced that the weather doesn't matter, that they're not allowed to talk about it, and as long as we're able to play a game, it's a beautiful day. So you and I both know the truth is that it was very cold last week, especially Wednesday when it was raining and it was 38 degrees or whatever, but so much credit goes to our players because of the mental toughness, the fortitude that they had to overcome all the conditions and still go out there and play very good baseball. And I thought we played really good baseball both Tuesday up at Winthrop and then Wednesday here against Queens when the weather was so lousy. The guys kept their focus and they played baseball the way it's supposed to be played, and we were able to pick up a couple of victories. But given our choice, I'm sure everybody would say that they would prefer the weather to be much warmer than that, and hopefully we've made the turn.
I think we have here in South Carolina. Of course, you coached in Louisiana, and you're from South Florida, so you know what warm weather's all about and when it turns. A couple of fundamental things I want to ask you about. You're 17 of 19 on steals, and I know you're happy, at least for now, with how your team is playing defense. How much have you really focused on the guys getting those things done?
Well, this is the thing. A lot of people, will evaluate the competition that you're playing. And, listen, we've got a lot of tough games ahead of us, okay? And the teams that we've played are not some of the teams that are most well-known in college baseball. But when the ball comes off the bat, it doesn't really matter what the name was on the jersey of the player that hit it. If the ball comes off the bat hard and it takes a player to make a play technically correct and have the fortitude to make the play, defense is one of those things that it doesn't recognize competition. The pitcher may not throw real hard or a guy may not run real fast or whatever, but when the ball comes off the bat, you still have to make the play on the ball. And I think our defense has been really outstanding. I mean, you have an All-American like Ethan Petrie making diving catches in right field yesterday, and Blake Jackson made a diving catch. Will Tippett made a tremendous play in the hole. The day before, Henry Kazmar put on a clinic at shortstop. He looked like a Gold Glover. All of our catchers have done a really good job. I mean, Scobie's been perfect at third base, really. So, our defense has been really outstanding, and that's the one constant that I always preach that we can have. Pitching, you may have a bad day here and there. Hitting comes and goes, but your defense has to be constant. And I'm really proud of the way that we've taken pride in our defense. Our base running is another thing that we emphasize, and not just base stealing, but the quality of base running. Will Tippett made a base running reaction yesterday that you don't see very often. He was at third base with one out, and Ethan Petrie hit a ball about 110 miles an hour, line drive that hit the shortstop in the glove, but it was too hot to handle. And when the ball dropped, Tippett reacted and went home and scored. And if you're not playing hard and you're not, reacting to the proper way you're supposed to react, you don't make plays like that. And that was a critical run at an important time of the game. So I'm proud of our base running. I'm proud of our defense. I've really been proud of every aspect of the way our team has played thus far.
And one talk about pitching too. I mean, everybody, I guess, in this industry, Coach, has at least a couple stats that they really fixate on. One of mine, strikeout walk ratio. I'm a sucker for a good strikeout walk ratio. And noticing that Matthew Becker in 2 starts has 17 strikeouts and 0 walks is eye-popping to me. How has he kind of surprised you, or has he surprised you, and have you kind of evaluated the stuff he's been able to pitch so far this year?
It's pretty hard to do much better than that, isn't it? Well, number one, you give a lot of credit, most of the credit, 90% of the credit to Matthew Becker. He's a veteran pitcher. He's a confident kid. He's pitched some big games in his life here at South Carolina, and he's better than he's ever been now. And then you got to give a lot of the credit also to our new pitching coach, Terry Rooney. I've watched the way Terry has worked with Matthew Becker as well as all the pitchers. And the way that he has them focused on certain, must-dos, so to speak, has really been captivating to watch. He's just done a tremendous job with our entire pitching staff. We haven't walked that many batters overall. We've had a couple of moments here and there where we lost a little bit of control. But when you look at the overall statistics, I think any coach would take the numbers that we've shown, in this early part of the season. So, again, regardless of the competition, throwing the ball 60 feet 6 inches in the strike zone is a skill, no matter who's standing up at the plate. And I'm really proud of the way our guys have pitched.
Talking to Coach Paul Mainieri, Gamecocks have Gardner-Webb this week, and then 3 with Clemson again Friday at Kingsmore, Saturday Fluor Field in Greenville, and then Sunday here at home at Ray Tanner Field. Let's stay with pitching for a second here, Coach. Brendan Sweeney has 3 saves already on the young season. A long way to go, obviously, but what do you look for in a closer, and what so far has Brendan showed you about what he can be?
Well, I think a principle of coaching is that you try to put kids in situations that accentuate their qualities, the good qualities that they have, and maybe try to keep them from being in situations that that they might have a little bit of limitation in. And that's why you're putting in kids in situations to be successful. And when you look at Brendan Sweeney, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that he's got a good fastball. I mean, his fastball can be anywhere between 92 and 96 miles an hour, and that's pretty stiff. He also has a super changeup. So he's got 2+ pitches that if you're throwing just one inning and you're just trying to get 3 hitters out or face 3, 4, 5 hitters, whatever, in an inning, you can get by with just 2 pitches. But Sweeney has also started to develop a really nice breaking ball that goes away from the right-handed hitters. And I think that's going to be a key pitch for him. But for right now, if all he had to rely on was 2 pitches, he can do the job for 1 inning. Now, if you were a starting pitcher and you only had 2 pitches, you wouldn't make it past, the 3rd or 4th inning typically against a good hitting team. Twice around the lineup, maybe max. But in this case, I think Sweeney's assets are good enough to be a really quality relief pitcher as long as he has the other qualities, which are poise and composure, ability to throw strikes, some of those kinds of things. So, yeah, I recognized early with Sweeney in the fall that he had a couple of assets that I thought could play really well as a late inning closer, and by him being able to do the job for us there, it's allowed us to move Matthew Becker into the starting rotation where he has excelled. I thought Becker was going to be our closer when I first started watching our pitchers this fall, but because of Sweeney's evolution, I think it's allowed our pitching staff to be better because it's allowed us to put Becker in the rotation.
All right, I ask you this next question. I know as a baseball guy, superstition can be there, so I'm not asking you to look past Gardner-Webb. Okay, this isn't really about scouting the teams or anything else, but it's more about who the opponent is this weekend because we won't get to talk to you here, at least on the radio.
Well, then you are asking.
So I am a little bit. Yes, sir. I am. Without it, I am. But here's what I'm really asking. It's not so much about the games, but seriously, Coach, you know the Carolina-Clemson rivalry from afar. And when you were at LSU, for all the amazing series you guys would have played, I don't know that you have an in-state rivalry that comes close to what Carolina-Clemson is. How excited are you for that as a coach and a competitor, knowing, as you do as a professional, what this series means in-state and really to college baseball?
Well, I know if any of my players are listening to this interview, they're going to be mad at me tomorrow for talking about Clemson because, it's a very strict rule of ours only to look at the most immediate challenge. And so now you're making me break my own team rule here by talking about it. You're like the person that comes up to you in the restaurant and says, I don't mean to interrupt your dinner, but but they do.
But I do, yes, I do.
Listen, everywhere I've gone, in the several months that I've been here in Columbia, there's been one constant. People are always telling me about how important the Clemson games are. Sometimes I think people around here think they're more important than even the SEC games. And I don't think that's an exaggeration, but we have to remember, look, I love the rivalry. I love college baseball. I love college athletics and all the big rivalries. There's no hiding from the fact that this is one of the top college baseball rivalries in the country. For many, many years, both these programs have been two of the top teams in the country. And so I'm excited about being a part of it, and I'm excited about the series this weekend. We're going to have a lot of big games this year, and those are going to be three of the biggest, of course. But we do have one more game before we play Clemson. And so I'm not playing it down at all. I'm excited about it. But I don't want to look past tomorrow because we're facing a really good team tomorrow night with a pitcher who's thrown 6 innings and struck out 11 and given up 1 hit in 6 innings. So the last thing I want to do is see us go out there and not play good baseball tomorrow night because we're looking beyond Tuesday. But once tomorrow is over, our players are going to be very excited. But we try to make every game seem really important, and they are important. And so I think our players have been really good at just taking on the most immediate challenge. And I don't have any doubt that they'll do that this weekend. It's going to be exciting, all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just a reminder that Sunday's game here at Founders Park is at 5 p.m. Mm-hmm. We have that on the schedule later so that we're not going head up with the women's basketball game, and that Carolina fans can watch both games if they so desire. But it's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. And once we get through that Clemson series, we've got to have a lot of big games still remaining on our schedule. 30 SEC games. Still got North Carolina. Got College of Charleston. And there's a lot of big games still on our schedule. So I don't want to make more out of 1 day or 3 days than we need to. Because no matter what happens this weekend, we're still got a lot of big games ahead of us.
Well, I promise you, if I see you in a restaurant, that I will immediately come to the table and tell you that I did mean to interrupt your dinner with you and your lovely wife. So, but typically I won't be that guy radio-wise moving forward. Hey, seriously, congrats on the 8-0 start. Good luck tomorrow night and then this weekend. We do appreciate your time as always, sir, and we'll do it again next week. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Good to be with you.
You bet. That is Gamecock head baseball coach Paul Mainieri.